Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of the Daily Debate. I'm your host for tonight, Mohammed Abdirahim, and tonight Gaza will be the main topic and the just Palestinian cause. With us now here in the studio is His Excellency Ambassador Yusuf Zada, former Assistant Foreign Minister. A very good evening to you, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you for joining us. And we will be shortly joined by Ambassador Hussein Haridy, also a former Assistant Foreign Minister, who will talk to us about the President's meeting on Thursday with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli in the attendance of the Ministers of Defense and Military Production, the Minister of Interior, and several high-profile officials and heads of concerned apparatuses. The Prime Minister presented during the meeting with the President the results of his visit to the United States and attending the United Nations General Assembly 80th meetings, and of course the results and of the Prime Minister's attending on behalf of the President of the meeting with US President Donald Trump with Arab and Muslim leaders in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly meetings, where of course Gaza, a ceasefire, the release of hostages, the humanitarian aid, the post-war plan, the reconstruction of Gaza, and were the main issues. With us now is Ambassador Hussein Haridy, former Assistant Foreign Minister, live over the phone to talk to us about the meetings today and the meetings in New York and the situation regarding Gaza, a situation that has been described as cataclysmic, catastrophic, of course, as Israeli occupation tanks and troops continue to advance and intensify ground offensive. The starvation policy continues. The Israeli genocide war led by war crime suspect Israeli Premier Netanyahu continues. Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, sir.
Ambassador Haridy, what did you make out of today's meeting between the President and the Prime Minister, who of course updated him on his meetings in New York and his participation in the meeting called for by President Trump to discuss Gaza with a host of Arab and Muslim leaders?
Well, I presume that the Prime Minister briefed President Sisi on the meeting between President Trump and other Arab and Muslim leaders that was attended by Dr. Madbouli, the Prime Minister. And I expect that the Prime Minister gave his impressions and his conclusions of what went on in this meeting and the results of this meeting as far as the situation in Gaza is concerned.
From what you've heard, Mr. Ambassador, and we just had a 4-minute translation of the outcome of the meeting today between the President and the Prime Minister and several ministers and also top officials. The Prime Minister told the President that US President Donald Trump said that he was intent on ending the Gaza war and that he believed that, yes, reconstructing Gaza can happen without the relocation or the forcible displacement of Palestinians. Now, do you believe Mr. Trump's promises? Are you optimistic? I mean, what do you personally see in that New York meeting?
Well, I'll prefer to wait until the meeting that would take place between President Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister, Mr. Netanyahu, tomorrow at the White House. That will be the fourth meeting between the American President and the Israeli Prime Minister since last January. So I prefer
yes,
not to jump to conclusions until this meeting tomorrow. And what will be of interest will be the statements by the Israeli Prime Minister on his meeting with President Trump, and what President Trump himself would say at the Oval Office while receiving Mr. Netanyahu.
Right.
And in light of their statements, in light of their positions, in light of their points of view, I guess we'd be in a better position to judge the credibility of what President Trump promised during his meeting with Arab and some Arab and Muslim leaders and foreign ministers.
Right. Mr. Ambassador, how important is it now to build on the recognition by France, Great Britain and other big countries in New York of the Palestinian state? How important is that development? I mean, some see it as a big diplomatic victory, as you know, the first step in a long road to achieving what is viewed by Egypt as the only possible way to bring about peace and security in the region, a two-state solution. Others say, you know, they minimize this development because they say the important thing now is to stop the war in Gaza, save lives, stop the genocide, stop the starvation, and so on. How do you see things?
First of all, it's a culmination of a long historic process. When Great Britain recognizes the state of Palestine, that really a historic move on the part of the British government. Having said that, I've learned today that the British government notified the National Palestinian Authority that its recognition would not become formal and definitive till the Palestinian Authority would cease paying pensions for the families of the Palestinians martyrs in the West Bank or in Gaza. So it's a conditional recognition, but still it's very important from a historic point of view, given the fact that this whole Nakba of 1948 came out of the Balfour Declaration on November 2nd, 1917. So, and Great Britain was the mandated power from 1920 and 1921 till 1948, and it really it carries a very large responsibility, very heavy responsibility in what transpired in Palestine under the British mandate. Okay. Anyhow, this is history now. But going back to your question, I guess, of course, when France, Canada, Australia do recognize the state of Palestine, that's a culmination. I see it as a culmination of a historic process, of a certain historic stage, and the beginning of another stage where these countries, with all the relations they have, whether we are speaking about trade, whether we are speaking about investments or speaking about arms sales, now they have to face the Israeli blackmail and the Israeli threats to those Western governments that have recognized the state of Palestine. On the other hand, they have to be very tough as far as these plans on the part of the Israeli government or some extreme right factions within this government to annex the West Bank or major areas in the West Bank. So I guess that's the most important thing, that they can really have a very forceful stand against the Israeli government, and they don't get really change their position vis-a-vis the Palestinian question because of any pressure, whether from the Israelis or from the American administration.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Hussein Haridy, for your time and your insight. And